What does martial arts, CrossFit, general fitness type activities, nutrition, and mindset all have in common? This is what we're going to unpack today. Today, I have with me Jake Platt. He has dedicated his life to martial arts, fitness, and life coaching. Through his experiences, he developed the Morph Method, which is a very unique approach that has helped thousands achieve health transformations and really just transformations in their lives overall. In 1993, he opened his first Taekwondo school in Seattle. He was the coach for the 2004 Olympic trial bronze medalist and the co-developer of Fit 360 with Olympic gold medalist Stephen Lopez. In 2005, that's when the CrossFit came in. He opened a gym in Green Lake, Washington, and began combining martial arts with modern fitness, and then discovered the benefits of CrossFit and is the former owner of Northwest CrossFit, which was recognized as one of the top 10 CrossFit gyms in America. He later got into advanced nutrition and life coaching in 2019. Jake, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, Carol. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to have you on, Jake. I want to dive into the Morph Method because I was reading through that. It is so similar to how I coach women. But I first want to get an idea of your beginning, because I think to really understand somebody, their motivation, how they developed their coaching method, you kind of got to go all the way back, and in your case maybe all the way back to childhood. You didn't have it easy. I related to your story. It's not exactly like mine, but my dad had severe PTSD, and my mom, just like you described, I forget where I read it about you. I think it was in Bold Journey. Your mom kind of kept the status quo, and my mom was the same way. A mom of the 60s. I think a lot of
Yeah,
women kept the status quo.
right.
How did this shape your future? How did it shape who you are today?
Well, thank you for the introduction, by the way. I would say, my childhood was pretty rough and tumble. I had a pretty abusive stepdad, alcoholic, and he was pretty hard on my sister and I. So my escape was sports. I was really into sports and I excelled at them. I would say I was fighting against his authority. And so I would always, you know, be raging out in football and all my, the sports I was doing. I was getting into a lot of fist fights. I was always I was very physical. And then I went into the Marine Corps after high school. And I basically felt like that was my opportunity to kind of prove myself as being like an independent man, who can take care of himself and, and be strong and confident, all those things, only to get medically discharged because I hurt my back. And so I kind of came back, kind of trying to find out what it is that I needed to do in my life to kind of fill that gap in where I felt like I was, not really, I would say, confident and strong and independent. So I started studying martial arts and got really, really into the martial arts. And it kind of started shaping my mindset and started shaping my way of how I felt about, health and life in general. And so I lived a pretty clean life at that point. I moved out to Seattle, Washington to go to college. And soon after college, I opened up a Taekwondo center in downtown Seattle, started teaching the community, Taekwondo. And I really excelled in the coaching side of things. I became the head coach for the Air Force. And then the assistant coach for Stephen Lopez, who's the Olympic gold medalist in 2000, 2004, and 2008. I basically really, really put a lot of effort into understanding human performance. I was like one of the early Czech practitioners. I don't know if you remember Paul Czech back in the day. He was like the grandfather of all those stability balls jumping up on all those
Yes.
big, huge physio balls and stuff. So I was kind of a Czech practitioner. I started learning strength conditioning and, advanced strength conditioning, started applying it towards all my athletes, and of course, nutrition started playing a role. And, anything that would give us a competitive edge in competition, I was applying it to anyone and everyone. And then, of course, 2005, I left Taekwondo and journeyed into the CrossFit movement. Opened up one of the first 100 CrossFit gyms in America, in 2007. And then in 2009, won the CrossFit Games. And one of the things that kind of stood out for me in CrossFit was the early times in CrossFit, like the early days, the OG days, right? It was like, we were really into health and nutrition, and we were really into the lifestyle aspect of it. It was pre the competitive side, like the CrossFit Games kind of took over CrossFit, and kind of it just went into a completely different direction. But back in the day, it was all about having a balanced lifestyle and, getting good sleep, good nutrition, all these intangibles that somehow get lost, along a lot of fitness fanatics. So I really kind of adopted that early on in 2010, and then I just started to really, as the CrossFit movement was pushing more towards competition, I was getting less and less wanting to be involved in the competition side of it, because I had already chased medals. I had chased medals in the martial arts for many years. I didn't want to go and chase medals in fitness. To us, we just did it for fun and, and lifestyle. And so I kind of went into a different direction. Then, and I'd say in 2014, I had my own personal tragedy. I hurt my back really bad. And at the same time, I went through a breakup, and it just left me emotionally exhausted. And, between my back and the breakup, and, the business was changing also. We were getting like competitors in the market with Orange Theory and all these other type of things. And so the CrossFit movement was changing. Everything was changing. My whole life seemed to be unraveling in 2014, 15. And I started to really pay attention to what was happening to me, because I was losing my health. Essentially, I couldn't work out. I was on opiates to kill the, dull the pain. I was going through this nasty period of my time in my life, personal period in my life, and I just lost my focus. I ended up gaining a lot of weight. I got very miserable, depressed, and I got to a place where I was just like, this is really dark. This is what it's like to actually hit rock bottom. And I'm like, I'm a coach. Wait, what am I doing? I can't be doing this. So I had this brief moment where I felt like what am I doing? It's like, this is not right. But I got a good taste of what that mindset is like. And I was like, you know what? I can't go down like this. So I started paying attention. I started paying a lot of attention to what I was going through, and I started to become a student again. I kind of emptied my glass. I said, here I am. I think I know it all, and I don't. So I started to learn a lot more about psychology, and when I started applying a lot of the things I was learning into my own life, and that was sort of how Morph was kind of born. It was kind of born out of that misery. And then, one of the things that I wanted to answer was, because the question I had was like, God, if this could happen to me, why? I mean, this must be what's happening to everyone else around me in some form or another. There has to be something that they're going through that's causing everyone to be mindless, and causing people to be disorganized, and I mean this around their health and wellness, like it seems like society as a whole is, mindless, disorganized, with bad habits that are contradictory to having a happy, fulfilled life, and so I was just like, wow, so people need to be mindful. They need to be organized. They need to have healthy routines that they practice regularly around their inner truth of what's important to them in life, and get out of this contradiction that they're living. And so that was sort of like my epiphany. And so that became the beginning of a program I started to teach other people. I started coaching people through it. And that's basically what I do now. And so that's how I kind of evolved into what I'm doing. And of course, now I'm taking it one step further, and I'm working with people on relationship detoxifying, because I believe that it's really in relationships that have a major impact on us and influence us greatly, as to our health.
So true. I was just thinking so many things as you were sharing your story. First of all, what you went through as a child. And I think when we have past trauma, we really have a choice. There's different directions we can go. We can hang on to anger and bitterness. And I've seen this in people. I've seen it in my own family. Or we can take that pain and find a greater purpose and kind of, I don't know, for lack of a better word, elevate ourselves above that. But then, it's an ongoing thing. It's the human experience. It's not a one and done. We're going to have pain. We're going to have struggles. You talked about your back injury. I too had a serious back injury about 9 years ago and surgery last summer. So we're never done with this evolution that we go through as human beings through life.
That's
And
right.
it's again taking that pain and what can we do? How can we help other people? Because we can't help other people if we're up there being the fitness professional, perfect, all of the things. And I know a couple of times thinking in reality, just like you said, I'm the coach. What am I doing? I love it. How do you think? So, martial arts you found young. Did you go back to some of the principles? And I don't mean the physical aspect, but maybe the mental principles when you were going through your back problems and the breakup?
Yeah, well, I mean, I really have a firm belief that our main responsibility in life is to defend ourselves, defend our life
Mm,
against, anything that's a threat to it, and it could be, toxins, it could be, you name it. Our main responsibility is to keep ourselves safe, keep ourselves healthy. And so I think it goes back to that. I think there's a personal responsibility that gives our life meaning if we really pay attention to it. And it's something that if you just, I would say, commit to, you will find inside of all of that self-love, self-care, self-respect. You'll find a lot of things inside of that because I think for a lot of people, they are playing out the roles in society that they were kind of thinking that they were supposed to do.
mm,
I'm a dad, I'm this business guy, or I'm this, that, or whatever, but really we're magical creatures. We're on this rock, we've got this amazing universe, we're connected to God and nature and to one another and everything. And I think we lose sight of that. And we reduce our lives down into these really petty sort of roles that we play. And so we have to kind of learn how to straddle those two worlds and keep one foot in one world and one foot in the other. And that's sort of, what I think the martial arts does is in order for you to be good in martial arts, it's important for you to be in the moment, practice being present and pay attention. It's all about awareness. Start paying attention to things that are maybe, not obvious, So,
mhm,
so you have to be curious. You have to, I think that's one of the things that we need to be. We need to be explorers. We need to be discovering, and Carl Jung, he says that the first half of our life is about self-discovery. It's about fulfilling our ego. It's an ego pursuit essentially. And then the second half of our life is about divesting from your ego. It's about going on a spiritual journey. And so we really have got these two big journeys that we go through in life. One, making a name for ourselves, and the other one is like dropping that name and really kind of like learning more about what's going on, on a deeper level.
I love that. You said so many good things there. So the second half of life, I'm always talking that way because I'm really talking to midlife women who are 40, 50 and above, and
Sure.
I'll refer to it as the second half of life. And I know for me there was something that happened around age 50 where things just shifted and it was just exactly as you described. And then I remember having to actually go back and like address things from my past and deal with things that I had sort of pushed over to move on with life and have kids and have a family and career and all those things. And then talking about that right to defend yourself. And I'm always saying, I say this to my brother a lot, we have to be willing to fight. Aging is not for wimps. This life can bring so many storms, and we have to be willing to fight for our health. Really is what I think of, and our mental health. And then the other thing you were talking about how people kind of segment themselves, I guess. Because I think about this a lot. Like you walk into church and you're like, okay, I've got my church hat on and I'm going to
Right.
talk churchy. Then I'm going to get in the car and I don't know, cuss somebody out, cut me off. And then I'm home and I'm the mom and the wife. And now I'm at work. I don't think that works very well. I think that holistic, integrative approach and seeing that, okay, we are spiritual beings, physical beings, our mental health, emotional health, our community and connection to one, it all matters.
Yeah. No, 100%, and I kind of look at it through, our past self is our teacher, and our future self is our strategic planner, and our present self is our CEO, and so we're at the, we're in a meeting every day, all day, and we're having a conversation, and so we're asking the teacher, hey, what are the lessons that we've learned in our life that we need to bring forward, to what we've got going on, because in our strategic planner is saying, okay, this is where we need to go, and so the present person needs to make a decision on what we do, and I feel like that's been lost in a lot of people. They carry a lot of burdens of the past with them that they haven't really learned the lessons from, and so they burden themselves with, you know, nonsense essentially, and that hurts them in the long run. And then they're not looking too far into the future. So everything is like instant gratification versus, delayed gratification, which is hey, look, at some point you're going to be 70, you're 50, you're going to be 60, you're going to be 70, you're going to be 80, you're going to be all these different ages. How about look in the future and just use your imagination. What conversation would you have with your future self in each one of those ages? The worst thing you want to do is, I think, is to, get down the road and look at your 70-year-old self in the mirror. I'm 56, I'll be 57 in February, but, I'm thinking to myself, God, I'm going to look in the mirror someday at my 70-year-old self. And the last thing I want my 7-year-old self to say to me is like, why'd you do that to me? You knew better. Why did you do that? I want my 7-year-old self to say, hey, you did a good job. I'm proud of you. You got us here. You did so good. Keep going. You know what I mean? So, I think that's the conversation people are lacking. They're not looking into the future. They're not using their imagination and really kind of thinking about what life is going to be like down the road.
That's so good. Every morning I wear an Aura ring and I wake up, look at my
Nice.
data, and I like to geek out on it. And there's a point where it'll talk about your cardio age or cardiovascular age.
Yeah.
And mine is younger than what my actual age. My actual age is 63. Mine is several years younger than that, according to the
Nice.
ring. But then it'll say, this is how you'll climb stairs in the future. And I
Nice.
loved that.
Yeah,
I
that's
love
awesome.
that because I want to be climbing stairs in the future. I want to be able to pick up my suitcases and do all the things or play with my grandkids in the future. And I don't think in our culture, maybe other cultures do it more. We don't value age. And so we're taught to kind of push it away and not really look at it and look at it like, okay, the decisions I make today impact my future self.
That's right. Yeah, it's a cultural issue. I mean, we're being influenced by society, our upbringing, our culture. We have a very, very dysfunctional culture. It's being driven by a lot of, as as we're just a lot of propaganda, and if you listen to that propaganda long enough, you'll start to believe it. It'll start shaping your and so I personally believe that we are at a crossroads in our society where people need to start thinking about why, if we're so advanced in our knowledge and all this technology, why are we dying younger? Like, why are we dying younger? Like, why are we getting sick more? Like, why are these things happening? So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
why are people not asking those questions, and why are they so quick to jump on the bandwagon of everyone else that's going down? I'm like, I don't want to go down like that. So I think, waking people up is, I think that's what we are intended to do. That's why I think that you're doing an amazing, amazing job, especially, at your age. It's like you're taking really good care of yourself. And, like we have to be stewards. We have to create subcultures where we could influence people to take good care of themselves. And it's all, it's just a mindset switch is all it really is. They just don't know it.
Huge. Mindset is, I mean, that word gets thrown around a lot,
Yeah.
but really it's our attitude, it's our thoughts, it's taking captive our thoughts, it's getting rid of limiting self-beliefs, it's all of those things so that we can advance forward.
That's right.
I see people accepting things they shouldn't accept. Like, oh, this is just a normal part of aging. Like, I've got high blood pressure or, cholesterol or cardiovascular disease or many of these chronic diseases, and just accepting it like this is what it is to get older. And I believe that we have more power. We give away our power when we just accept the status quo. And we have more power than we realize just with our lifestyle habits, just with our daily choices.
Yeah, well, if you think about when you're over 40, I'd say, probably even earlier than that, it's all about preservation, right? So if you're going to be aging. You can't. I mean, no matter what you do, you're going to age. Okay, and you can push back on it really really hard. That pushing back on the aging is really stress management. It's like if you want to think about it in terms of like narrowing it down, what is really going on. It's stress management. You're trying to manage stressors. So all kinds of different types of stressors, mental stressors, physical stressors, things that, environmental stressors, air. I mean, everything that we are encountering on a regular basis is a stressor. Your thoughts are actually one of your biggest stressors. so
Hmm.
so you have to get into understanding what are the thoughts you're having that are contributing to your stress. And people don't think about their thoughts as being stressors, but a thought is going to trigger an emotional reaction. That emotional reaction is going to create systemic reactions. So you have to look at it and kind of go, okay, wow, I didn't realize how powerful my thoughts are. It's like your thoughts are incredibly powerful. So I think everything needs to really kind of start with reframing. You have to start reframing that story, that narrative you're telling about yourself about yourself. Like I deal with a lot of people that have gone through trauma, emotional abuse, narcissistic relational abuse, you name it. And the first thing I try to get them to kind of do is to stop talking negatively about yourself. And there's always looking for some sort of closure, some sort of reconciliation. Well, you can't really reconcile crazy. So there needs to be a level of surrendering to the fact that there's going to be things you're just not going to know. There's going to be things that you're not going to understand. And you need to put your health first and make that your priority over trying to figure out what someone's crazy is like. so it's all a mindset switch. It's saying that my thoughts are extremely powerful, way more powerful than I give them credit for. And I need to really start paying attention to how I'm thinking about things and how I can start to reframe my thoughts, think more abundantly, acquire a growth mindset. And inside of that, I think health will follow, because if you're living truly a growth mindset sort of way, well, then then when it comes to health, you're going to look at making healthier decisions, because otherwise it becomes a contradiction.
You're just saying so many good things that resonate with me, and really choosing our thoughts and seeing that impact, our thoughts creating our actions. And I know for me, at a certain point, I had to go, you know what? I'm keeping myself in bondage. That was the word that just
Yeah.
came up for me. My thoughts are keeping me in bondage. They're limiting me. And so letting go of that. And sometimes it won't make sense. And if somebody has hurt us in some way, physically, emotionally, Or like you mentioned, people that become involved with somebody who's narcissistic, and boy, can that do a number on their mind and how they perceive themselves and the trauma bonds that they get caught in. I mean, really, it's not going to make sense. And the best thing we can do is to take those lessons, I think personally, and really divorce ourselves from that person, that situation, walk away from it and choose a different reality, break those bonds. So such good stuff. Now, as you developed the Morph method, so you went through life coaching, and then the Morph method came after your life coaching certification. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had been working towards Morph for a while, but the epiphany of like the name Morph and all of that really came after my gym was shut down from COVID, and I had, and I sold it. I sold it for like 10 cents on the dollar, and I was really distraught. I was like,
Oh,
I had just done a big remodel. It's a long
huh,
story. I don't want to get into it, but it was one of those times where I was like, wow, like I can't believe that could even happen. So, I went to Idaho. I spent some time just thinking about things. I wrote the rough draft of my book, and I was just sitting there one day just thinking about, I had just finished my life coaching with this ICF accredited school, and I was thinking about, well, am I going to be an ICF coach, or where am I going to take all of this? And I just said, I've been a health and fitness guy my whole life. I'm really thinking that I want to combine life coaching with health coaching and create something unique. So that was that was what I wanted to do. So I wanted to create what was called a morph coach. So essentially a transformation coach, just helping people transform their lives, working with them on, mindset, health principles, really thinking about how they can take care of themselves, make themselves a priority in their life, and just make that philosophical switch. So to me, morph is more like a philosophy to live by. And, if you're going to overcome bad habits, you have to create mindful, organized routines that are practiced honestly and do them enough times. And guess what? Those will become your new habits. So that to me was how I kind of put it all together.
let's talk a little bit about habits. So you have pillars to this method. Are you teaching, and we can talk about these pillars and what they are, but are you teaching all of the pillars together, or are you going in a sequential order?
Well, I really think that it's a health 101 course, basically. We're talking about homeostasis. We're talking about optimal homeostasis, a position of balance within your system of your body, all the systems. And we want to think about, if we're going to alleviate unnecessary stressors out of our life, which I think is the first thing that you want to work on. So if you're going to get yourself into optimal health, the very first thing you want to do is you want to get rid of the two steps forward, one step back, which is, just try to work on your fitness and health, but don't manage all these other intangibles and nuances. Like, for instance, optimal hydration. Find out what's optimal for you. Drinking clean water. I drink water that's, I make sure my water is filtered really well. I don't drink, soda pop, and, just kind of clean up your hydration so that you don't have a stressor there. So then you take that stressor out of that pillar and it's optimized. And then you do the same thing with sleep. Get yourself optimal amount of sleep. So you need to work on sleep. There's actually been a lot of studies on sleep now, and we kind of have a good understanding of what is good sleep hygiene, right? So implement a good sleep hygiene for yourself and eliminate that stressor. And so then you go to nutrition. And I do the same thing, eat single ingredient whole foods that are really good for, maybe go find a naturopath and get tested on foods that you might be sensitive to, get some hair analysis done, your saliva analysis, all these things, get tested really well, get some genetic tests done, really get a good idea of what is good for you and what is bad for you. And then start to detoxify the foods out of your system. So then you take care of that pillar. And then exercise, same thing. Get yourself a coach, get yourself a functional fitness coach, one that's going to understand movement really well, get you to understand how to, use your core really well, understand the importance of posture and breathing mechanics and everything that you can think of, right? And if you need a body worker, get a body worker. Like, invest in getting the toxins out of your body on a movement. Sitting is a toxin. You sit for a long period of time, you're going to hurt yourself. It's going to become a toxin in your life. So get rid of that stressor. And then think about meditation and breath work. I combine the two of them together because I think they need to go together. Because anytime you can focus on your breath, that's a great opportunity for you to also focus on clearing your mind and getting yourself still, and get yourself into a good place mentally. So you can alleviate a lot of stressors that way. A lot of people are hyperventilating. I would say a good 90+% of the people that I witness are hyperventilating unknowingly. They got inverted respiration. They don't know what a deep breath is like. They're breathing 20, 30 times in and out in a minute, which is going to trigger fight and flight responses, high levels of cortisol, adrenaline, you name it. It's just, everything's going to be out of whack. You're going to have serious issues later on in life because of that. So, I address that. So we get rid of those toxins. And then, of course, the growth mindset is paying attention to what you're paying attention to, but also what you're not paying attention to. So growth mindset is, having, abundance, thinking from different perspectives, looking for ways to acquire that growth mindset when you have cognitive dissonance, you have cognitive biases, you have all these different biases in your mind that are just mental habits that you've acquired. So there's a lot of work to do, and I don't necessarily spend a whole lot of time on the, just drilling down every one of these, specifically making sure everyone is, working on them perfectly. But I do bring them to light and have people, manage them and work on them. But the biggest one of all is the growth mindset. To me, it's like if I can get you to acquire a growth mindset, I'm going to be able to nudge you in the right direction on everything else. I can work with you on fitness all I want, diet, nutrition, but if you have limited belief systems and you are just, sabotaging your thinking, I mean, you can't really, it's hard to coach people like that. To me, you can be the most coachable person in the world, but if you have limited belief systems and you're not working on those, well, you're stuck. You're gonna,
Yes.
like you say all the time. I've watched your videos. People are starting and stopping, starting, and it's like,
Mhm.
that is one of the biggest problems that we face. So I think it's really more than anything, it's coaching people on mindset. Getting them to believe in themselves, getting them to believe that they can become better versions of themselves. And they can do that by exercising, do that by sleeping well. They can do that by really focusing on these 6 pillars and really optimizing them the best they can, because they're going to feel better. But when you're feeling miserable, it's really hard for you to look at things in a positive way when you're feeling miserable. So, for me, it's like if I get you feeling better about yourself and get you generally feeling better, just physically, I mean, that to me, that's a big step in the right direction.
You're talking about the mindset and the growth mindset, and I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If somebody came in and just stripped away all the parts of the Morph method and said you can only have one, like you're left with one, and this is all you can teach, what would that be?
Oh, it would be the growth mindset for sure. Absolutely.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Because I find the same thing to be true. You can hand somebody, and I've done this when I first started coaching, here's the perfect meal plan, here's the
Right.
perfect workout
That's
plan.
great.
And then I'd be shocked, like, well, why aren't you getting any results? And I'd realize that they were still stuck in this little
That's right.
circle they were going around in their mind. And then you get that start stop, like, okay, I'm excited, I'm starting a new program. And a week later, they're down in the valley, going, oh, this is hard, I can't do this. And that's where that mindset comes in. You have to be in that state of growing and learning, and it cannot stop.
Yeah, you're in your own way. and people get in their own way and they don't know that they're in their own way. That's what cognitive biases do to people. It's like that's why they're stuck. That's why they're going to you to begin with. Like really the diagnostics, if you were to look at it through that lens, it's like they're where they're at because they're in their own way. They have limited belief systems. They have cognitive biases that are just, bad habits that they picked up from, their parents or their, people that are influential to them. And, of course, life can develop them as well, in their own experiences. But they just get into this mindset that, the gym is optional, health is optional, my fitness is optional, all these things are optional. It's like, no, they're not. I mean, it's like saying taking a shower is optional, brushing your teeth is optional. And it's like, no, they like the moment that you can start thinking about, your fitness as being a hygiene and your nutrition as a hygiene, no different than you think about taking a shower and bathing and brushing your teeth. When you start thinking about it through that lens, it's not optional. It's non-negotiable, actually. And it's even more non-negotiable than brushing your teeth and taking a shower. And so it's really a hierarchy of values, and you have to play mental jiu-jitsu with a lot of people to get them to kind of see through that lens, But if you look at like, we are really innocent beings. If you were to go into the woods and you see this animal, like say it's a wild animal, right? You'd be, oh my God, look how precious that wild animal is. You would never want to hurt it, obviously, if you're a hunter. But if you're not hunting, you're just out there in nature hiking, and you see an animal like a deer or something, like how beautiful that deer is. It's like you would never think about going and hurting the deer, right? But why don't you think about yourself the same way? You're an innocent. Your body is this innocent being. What corrupted you is your mind. Your mind has been corrupted to not see that you are this magical, innocent being. And so your body wants you to take care of it. Your body wants you to like put nutrition first, put exercise first, put these things first, make you strong, make you durable, make you healthy. So it's your mind that's saying otherwise. So you have to get in there and correct that. That's a contradiction, and so you have to be able to wake up. You got to wake up and see it that way. And so, but if you tell just anybody on the street, hey, the gym is non-negotiable, they're going to laugh at you. So you have to unwind all of that, and you have to get into values and principles and help people redevelop all of those things. And it takes time. It's not something that happens overnight. And there's a lot of pushback, and there's a lot of people that just, they love their misery. They love victimhood. They love staying in it. And they are just self-sabotagers. There's, like you said, there's not, not everybody's going to drink the Kool-Aid, but if you can reach people and talk to them at a deep level about it, and you might be able to move the needle.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think a lot of people do put themselves in bondage, in victimhood, and just get stuck there and give away all their power. They don't have any personal power, personal responsibility. Oh, this is happening to me.
That's right.
Instead of going, okay, what can I do to change this reality? I know for me, a lot of my change, it occurred at that juncture of turning 50, going through the whole journey. And initially, it was all about aesthetics. I mean, don't ask me why, but that was where I was at. I wanted to look as good as I could at the age I was at. I wanted to compete in these bodybuilding shows and fitness competitions. And then something started to shift. I went through my late 50s, turned 60, and I'm like, this is for life. And my why got so much bigger, but then it got easier to stay the course because my why, if your why is only, I want to go on vacation or look good at my wedding or whatever the why is somebody has, it's not that there's anything wrong with that, but I think you got to dig deep. There has to be something greater there.
Yeah, it's like, if you're thinking about whether or not you should go to the gym, you've got it backwards. So, to me, it's like, I don't ever think about going to the gym. I just go to the gym. Like I just grab my stuff and I go to the gym. I have it on my schedule. I know when I'm going. And it's not something I go, oh, I wonder if I should go or not. Because even if I'm not feeling up to like working out, I still go to the gym and I'll find something light I could do, even if it's just stretching. Like it's more just I would say honoring your future self. Like I was saying, it's like I made a commitment to my future self that I was going to do the best I can to make sure that I give him the best mind, body, and spirit possible. So, it's like I have that commitment and I'm not going to disappoint. I'm not going to do things that are going to undermine that, and and it doesn't mean I still won't go out and enjoy myself here and there and have a good time and maybe have some desserts here and there. I'm not walking around with 8% body fat, but I'm pretty healthy, I'm pretty strong, I'm pretty fit, and I've got a good 12% body fat, which I get to enjoy, So if you can find just like an 80-20 split, and not be, so fanatical. So I go to gym 5 days out of 7, and I'm paying attention, I'm not like doing things that are, I'm looking at that might hurt me or something like that. But it's these conversations that people are having with themselves before they go, before they go to do things that set them up for failure. It's like they already have the rules set in place that, I'm going to give myself an out. I'm going to give myself, cheat days. I'm going to, they're so excited about the cheat days than they are about the benefits that they're going to get from going on the diet. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
wait a minute. Do you even know what you're going to feel like and look like? And they're just like, I just know I'm going to be restricted. I just know it's going to suck. I just know it's going to be horrific. It's like, no, it's for the rest of your life. What are you talking about? You're going to have to find a way to do this that you can do it for the rest of your life. It's not like you said, a one and done. It's not like something where it's just temporary. It's a lifelong journey. So make it unique, make it interesting, make it fun. Have a good time doing it, and go in and challenge yourself. But they set themselves up to fail before they even start. Just because they don't have the right mindset going into it, and it takes a while. I get it. It's not easy to think to yourself, wow. First of all, your whole life up to the point of where you're making this decision has been built upon not going to the gym. So yeah, there's a lot of resistance that's going to come your way. There's maybe family issues that you have to clean up. There's maybe other scheduling conflicts you're going to have to clean up. There's bad habits probably in there that you're going to have to clean. There's so many things. Like your whole life wasn't supporting this, and all of a sudden you're making this major switch. So yeah, there is going to be a lot of resistance. There's going to be a lot of pain and suffering in that resistance. And because it's going to be change, that change is going to create a lot of stress for you, and it's going to be really difficult for you. But you just gotta just figure out a way that you can convince yourself that it's non-negotiable. So, I think that to me is, when I hear people, oh, I'll start in 2 weeks from January, 2 weeks in January, I'm going back to the gym. It's like, what? Like, it doesn't, I just don't comprehend that. It's like, well, no, wait, no, you need to go to the gym today.
Start now.
You need to go, like something's wrong with that way of thinking. Like, and if you know this, like, if you take like 3 to 5 days off, your health is starting to go like that. It's starting to go down, especially when you're over 50. So yeah, you got to get to the gym. You got to go work out. You got to do things that get your body moving and lift weights and build the bone density and the joints and keep them strong and keep your muscles elastic and keep your heart pumping. I mean, it's like you got to do those things. It's just fundamental.
It is. That was really, bodybuilding taught me a lot in doing those competitions. I wouldn't trade it. I'd no longer do them. I don't want to do them anymore. I'm like you. I didn't want to chase. For me, it was trophies anymore. It's like, okay,
Yep.
enough of that. But it taught me a lot because it was non-negotiable. You're going to get up on that stage in a glittery bikini and heels and a tan. You better be ready. Like, it's not a participation sport. And so, but that discipline, cheating wasn't an option for me. And then over time, I was able to transfer that to life, to other areas of my life and realize, okay, this is non-negotiable. At 63 years old, for me, strength training is a non-negotiable. Even
Absolutely.
going through back surgery, I fought. I did everything I could conceivably do with bands, with however I could safely do it during that recovery. I, minded my nutrition, ate enough protein. I was so mindful. And my practitioner, she was amazed. She was like, I don't know how you held on to your muscle through all of that surgery. How did you hold on to the majority of that? And I said, I was so intentional. I was determined. I am not going to be weak. I'm not going to be frail. I'm not going down. And people need more of that fight in them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, where goes the will, the body will follow. Like you have to will it to happen. It's just, it's building that it's building that communication channel with yourself, your inner self. It's like you need to have some deep conversations with yourself around your longevity, around your, what you want out of life, and I don't know anyone who is really healthy and fit that isn't also happy to some degree. Like they're very
Hmm.
happy and their life is very fulfilled in a lot of ways. And so it fills a lot of gaps that we have. And if you're miserable and you're overweight and you're not feeling good and you're tired, I get it. It's going to be hard to get yourself moving and get yourself going. But it's not going to get any easier. So the sooner you get going, the better it's going to be for you. So it's only going to get worse. So
True.
you can't wait around for it to get any better because if you're getting older at the same time, it's just going to compound and compound and compound. And I think that um, the if someone can take a good 100 days and focus on getting in the gym and eating really well, that is going to lay down a lot of groundwork for being able to maintain it if it's done right. If you're, like you said, chasing a medal, getting in a bikini, going on the stage, it's like that's not what we're asking people to do. Like, if you're an extremist, then go for it, but I had thought about doing it, getting into the bodybuilding, getting on stage, like you, I just looked at it and I kind of went, no, this is more for longevity, and we look good, so it's not like you're sacrificing anything, when you say I'm going to do this for longevity, you know, um, you're going to look good. If you're working out for longevity and you get in a bikini and people are going to go, wow, what do you do? Wow, you
Hmm.
look amazing. It's like, it's not like you have to go, chase some stage to look good. you know, you just need to.
Oh, no,
So,
not at all.
yeah. So to me, it's more like, you know, just train for longevity and just eat well, get good sleep, exercise regularly, and you will be amazed on what your body will look like from just doing that. So that if that you don't have to have, like I have this saying where it's like I want to be looking exactly the same all year round. I don't need to go, oh god, I gotta go on a diet now and lose some weight. It's like, no, I just maintain. Why? Because
Same.
it's for longevity. It's not for any specific event.
It feels good to maintain, having come from that world of bodybuilding. We had our building and our cutting
Yeah.
phase.
Oh yeah. Totally.
And after a while, it was a little hard on my body because you would gain some weight, you'd put on some muscle, then you'd cut back down, and this went on back and forth and back and forth. I am so enjoying the maintenance
Yeah.
and finding that sweet spot where, yeah, I look good. I can put on the bikini, I can put on the different outfits and feel really confident. But more importantly, I know I'm doing something for the long term, for my mind and my health, my body. And that's more important. So I'm with you on that. I want to be respectful of your time, Jake. As we wrap up, was there something that I didn't ask you or something you'd like the listeners to know?
Sure. I mean, just if anybody is interested in wanting to learn more about me, you can just, come visit my website at morphmethod.com, and you'll find all of my programs and everything that I do on there. And yeah, that's about it. And I think we covered quite a bit of ground, so I
We
feel pretty
did.
good.
We did. We're both of us, I think the mindset piece is so important.
Yeah.
And I really think the listeners will take away a lot of value and things to think about. Where would you have them start with their thoughts? Is there a starting point you tell people? Is it with their self-talk? Is it with one small little thought change? Where do you tell them to start?
Conversation when I start with people is to get them to recognize, like I talked about earlier, that you are this magical space being, like that's what you really truly are. Like you really are. You are so magical, and you should go and look up how magical you actually really are, and start looking about, for instance, you could take all your DNA and put it on top of each other, and it will travel through the entire universe back and forth, like if you stack them on top of each other. Think about that. You could take one human being, connect their DNA in a strand on top of each other, and it would reach Pluto and back, right? So I mean, that's pretty profound. I mean, you have to think,
It is.
wow, that's pretty crazy. What? So you're way more magical than you think, and so that's where I would have them start to think about is divorce yourself from the roles that you're playing and start looking at yourself differently. Start changing the perspective of who you are and what you are, and that you are this innocent being, and you need to look at your body as this innocent being that's really hoping that you're going to take good care of.
I like that because it's really seeing your self-worth
Yeah.
too, because I think a lot of people struggle in that area. I know I didn't see my self-worth for a very long time. And so seeing that miracle, that magic, I think is a really good starting point. Jake, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and so many nuggets in there for people to go back and listen through. I appreciate you being on the show. I'm going to make sure your book and your program, all of that is in the show notes.
Thank you so much, Carol. I really appreciate it. It's great chatting with you.
You too. And to our listeners, wherever you are in the world, we wish you every blessing. Bye for now.